Welcome to the Soccer Coaching Podcast, brought to you in association with our friends at Soccer Coach Weekly, reflecting our shared ambition to help coaches have the most effective, enjoyable and successful coaching journey for them and their players. We hope you enjoyed this episode and thanks for listening. Hi Jeremy, welcome to the Soccer Coaching Podcast. Good to have you on. How are you?
Hi Scott, I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Thank you very much. I think we've collared you in the middle of work. Like you're actually in a school, all branded up. Have you been out on the grass, or are you going to go on the grass? Have you been in a class? What have you been doing?
Yeah, I'm at my school this morning. I've been here since about 8 o'clock in the morning. Our session was actually in the morning, so I've been in our session, classroom, then football. We use the school playground for our sessions here.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, now I've just spent the day sort of seeing some of the young people in one-to-ones and also made time to be here.
I've stolen your lunch break.
I had a break before.
All right. Okay. Well, look, thank you so much. Because like everybody, everyone leads busy lives, and we've literally got in the middle of your working day. So thanks, Jeremy, for making yourself available. I'm looking forward to this podcast. We spoke very briefly before. Football does some wonderful things. And as coaches, we get very much focused on our team's performance and, dare I say it, results and some of these things, even at very young ages. And they're not unimportant, but I think we all recognise when we're calm and reflecting that actually they're probably not the most important stuff. And actually the way football and sport can be used in different ways to help children and young people is probably more powerful than maybe a Sunday result. And I'm thinking that maybe we're ahead in this conversation, but let's see. Before we go too far down the road, I think if it's okay, we'll just start a bit about maybe yourself, your background and what it is you currently do.
So I'm Jeremie, 24 years old. I came into this country, I'll start off with, when I was about 4 years old. I was originally born in Democratic Republic of Congo. And as like many people, I sort of went through the school education from primary, secondary, college, then university, where I studied sports science and coaching before doing a master's in physical education and sports pedagogy. So I've been in football from the moment I I stepped out onto a football pitch, really. From when I was about 5-6 years old, I've been playing football. I guess being at university and college enabled me to also see the other side of it, which is the coaching. Which allows you to see the bigger picture of the game, not just the physical and the technical side, but also the philosophy and style of play, as well as understanding people's, I guess, feelings and emotions in the game and how passionate people really are about the game. So it's been an interesting journey, roller coaster one as well, obviously. But I've been in football basically all my life, to say. At university, I also sort of dipped into futsal, which is indoor football. Again, really, really high intensity game. I thought for a moment I liked it more than football because it was so different. I've gone from playing grassroots to playing for my university, and then we sort of pushed to play National League as well. So it was some serious stuff.
Yeah,
it was serious. I've sort of navigated through football in different aspects, from playing, I still play, and coaching as well. I guess through university, through college, through school, I could say my passion for football only grew and stronger. Yeah. I love the game. I'm an Arsenal fan, for anyone listening.
Let's not. I am too. So we're both smiling today, but through gritted teeth, I'm sure, with our last night's result. But yeah, anyway, moving on.
My passion for the game. I tell people I'm a football fan. Like, yes, I support Arsenal. I'm a big Arsenal fan, but overall, I'm a football fan. I follow all the other teams across Europe, outside of Europe. I love getting like news on players, like all the transfers, like all of those things. Like, my head is in there. I'm the sort of person that will just randomly dish out information on something. You'd be like, oh, really? Random as it may be, and they just be like, whoa, my head is really just ticking on football. Yeah. What can I say? I love the game. So.
And what's your current role now then? What job-wise, what are you doing?
So at the moment, I am a project lead at Football Beyond Borders. But outside of Football Beyond Borders, I also coach. I've been an under-16s manager this season. The boys' season's just finished for one of my local clubs, where I started coaching actually whilst I was at college. So I sort of went to university and came back and continued from where I left off. But yeah, at Football Beyond Borders, I'm a project lead. I am sort of in charge of 5 schools across London. As you can imagine, busy days every day. And yeah, since I've come into this role, which I started last year in August, I think my growth, the growth of the company, the young people that I work with, a lot of it has been phenomenal. And if there's anything, I guess, for me to really say I'm proud of, is sort of the growth in which and the impact in which I, myself, the team have had on the young people that we work with. Yeah, it's been amazing.
Well, I'm going to be disciplined because I'm so tempted to go down the coaching kind of conversation here and ask questions around that. And I'm going to try and stop myself. And I really want to, because if we don't cover the key topic, it will be an hour and a half and I won't have done the things I should have done. So I'm going to park the coaching side for 1 second, however tempted I am. But could you tell us a bit more about what is Football Beyond Borders?
So Football Beyond Borders, we are an educational sort of charity. We work with young people and sort of like a youth brand where we seek to change the lives of young people. We work with young people who, the majority of the young people we work with are passionate about football. However, with the information we've gathered from school, as well as them, they have some sort of disengagement in education as well. But we've sort of stepped in to help them through football, navigate their education, and also have a successful transition into, their adulthood through school.
Fantastic. And I mean, obviously you've been in the company for a year or so, so I'm going to guess you're relatively new, but how long has the business been going for? How long has it been set up and running?
The business has been around for a while. I'd say it's coming up soon enough to a decade of being around.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, it started off from just, I guess, a group of people who also passionate about football. How can I put it? They were a group of people who were, I guess, they all went to university together, and through university, they sort of saw the challenges in which people were facing, which sort of stemmed from the London riots. And after the riots, this sort of view that a lot of people were sort of struggling and there wasn't a space for young people to sort of receive that support that they needed. So these people, I'm okay to say their names, right?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, if they're okay with it, I'm okay with it.
He's currently he's a director here at FBB at the moment. Jasper and I believe Jack, who's the CEO. Jasper and Jack, they're the co-founders, the CEOs of the brand. And they sort of came together and saw that, there's something that needs to be done to support young people more. And they started off with helping a group in Croydon, a school in Croydon, and these young people sort of started coming together with a football, and they were supporting them. And then I think one of the students actually asked the question, so next year, are we going to see you guys again? And from there, it sort of inspired the fact that, oh, you know what, we're actually doing something for these young people and they want us to continue. And
that's the question you want, isn't it? That shows you're doing something right. Yeah,
exactly. And then from there, the business more or less started to grow slowly. The design and the program, everything started to sort of come into play. And today we are where we are through, I guess from that one question, the progress and the business growth and everything from it sort of stemmed from that question. And it's quite interesting really, because if that never happened, it makes you sort of think, where would we be right now? And I guess for me, it's almost like I always say everything happens for a reason. And this specific question is, what's resulted to us even having this conversation right now.
Exactly. Yeah. It's powerful, isn't it? Little moments can make such a big difference, can't they? And just a throwaway statement or a question or a comment can make a massive statement. What age groups do you work with? Is it secondary school? Is it primarily secondary school kids?
Yeah, primarily we work with secondary school kids. If I sort of talk about the program a bit, ideally we start with year 8 young people, students starting year 8. But we tend to often start with year 7s as well. For example, I'm in charge of a year 7 group. Our program is 3/4 years long. Right now, we're piloting the 4th year. And in the first year and second year of FBB, the young people, we see them in the classroom, where our classroom sessions are about an hour long, where we spend the first half of the session in an hour in the classroom, which is followed by an hour outside. Our curriculum, so we deliver a curriculum which looks at developing their social emotional learning. That's thinking about things like their leadership skills, their confidence, self-esteem, oracy skills. And we use football as the social space where, from what they've learned in the theory in the classroom, we utilize football as the space where they can see the practical side of it. And we sort of challenge them, we question them, and see what sort of information they're gathering to help develop their self-awareness through practical. And from that, we then encourage and we push them to sort of navigate what they've learned from us into school as well. For someone like me, I only see, or project leads, we see our groups once a week because we are in multiple schools across the week. But again, there's regular communications between ourselves, the school, parent. So one thing about FBB is the fact that it's very much relational based. We like to build these relationships, not just with the young people, but the people around them. So school, parents, as I've said. And with FBB, if anyone sort of goes onto our website or looks at our work, we are asset-based. And when I say asset-based, that means we put our young people first. We are the people that listen to them. Not to say no one listens to them, but that's our main focus. We're their eyes and ears, more or less. We hear what sort of things they're going through, and then through our work, we help them navigate it, understand sort of how to not necessarily solve their problems, but how to manage their problems. And we support by speaking through school, having regular sort of parent conversations as well to support the young person. And everything we do is for the young people we work with.
It sounds fascinating. I'm completely sold already on the whole thing. I mean, students have a vast set of challenges and skill sets and engagement done in different things. And not everyone loves sitting in the classroom and doing academic work. And to get that motivation, sometimes you've got to find a clever angle that kind of switches them onto it. I think they can all do it if they can understand maybe the why that they need to be there. And if you can sell them the why, and I guess one way I'm going back is to use football. How do you have to map into the national curriculum, or is it literally, can you put what you want together with regards to your time in the classroom with them? Is it a standalone product? Does it map in? I'm thinking about how you may embed things like maybe literacy or numeracy or things like that. Is that part of it or not really?
Not necessarily. We have people that design our programs, and the programs are really amazing. Between the groups that we work with, there's a boys group and then a girls group. We sort of work with each sort of separately. And both programs are similar, but with differences. For example, this term, we're on our 4th one, but we've been through 3 other schemes of learning. The first one, which was we called it squad goals, and that was to do with teamwork, how to work with a team, how your individual sort of behavior has an impact on the people around you. But with that, we add the element of positivity, because we want them to think more positively about school. So how does, your positive behavior, how does that impact your teammate? How does, a simple well done or unlucky, we try again next time sort of impact your teammate? And one thing I found, especially from my groups and listen to them talk, they say they do their best when they are encouraged. They do their best when they're hearing that positive regard, non-stop of it really. And it makes you think, if that's what you want to hear, then what are you then yourself also doing to encourage that with other people as well? So what you want is what you, more or less that's that. And then after squad goals, we then looked at perfect penalty, which then sort of highlighted high pressure situations, taking a penalty. And then I guess the real life example, which we all sort of witnessed, was the World Cup, England with the penalties. And again, we use that example. We got the young people. I got the young people sort of highlight how they would advise someone like Saka the next time. How would you want them to take the penalty? How do you think they should handle their pressure? a lot of them thinking about, taking a deep breath, maybe doing a countdown, and then using what they're saying. Okay, cool. So when you're in school now, how do you then handle your, high pressure situations? So that link to school nonstop will get them to think about the real world, what's happening in real life, and then link it back to school. Then how can you manage yourself in a high pressure situation? When you have an exam, what do you do to sort of calm down and cool off? So all those links constantly happening throughout our sessions, from classroom to the football session as well. Third scheme of learning that I've done this term, which we just finished actually, was called What Makes a Mate. Again, so the impact of your friends. What impacts, are you having on the people around you? A lot of those conversations were happening, and then was their sort of focus on that was a public product, which is something that we do at the end of every scheme of learning. And in this one, it was to do with them coming up with a rule in which it makes them think about some of the injustices in the country. So again, we're thinking about the real world. A lot of them quite passionately spoke about racism, knife crime, a lot of things that they sort of see and hear around them, and the sort of changes and rules in which they would like to be enacted and put into place to resolve or maybe reduce these sort of issues. Of course, it's hard. So a lot of them came up with things that are already, sort of in play, should I say. But yeah, it's just great to hear them to understand some of the things that they're passionate about and they keep maybe to themselves and they don't really have time to converse about. So yeah, it's been huge. And then right now we started the last scheme of learning, which is called Be Your Best Self. And with this one, it's about them thinking about when they've been their best selves, and also championing each other nonstop. So in every session, we have a moment where someone or everyone gives a round of applause to someone because of something that they've achieved, whether it was simply 100% attendance in a week. That's it's not something that they don't hear often, but if you're getting championed for it, it's like, okay, if I come to school every day, everyone's going to clap for me as well. Like, something as small as that. And what I guess from me, one focus that I also do is sort of like look at behavior points. And if the students are achieving better or higher achievement behavior points from the previous week to the next, again, it's on the board and we champion them for it as well. Thinking about, again, being their best self. Every sort of at the start of every session, I've got something called their manifesto on the board. This is from their first scheme of learning, which they created like 6 rules in which they were all gonna abide by, follow by. A lot of them talking about being respectful to everyone, being a role model in the group, treating everyone how they want to be treated. I have the group that I'm with today, they even said one, protect or look after each other's mental health, which is like, wow, these guys are only at 8 and this is what, the sort of things that they even bring up to topic, which is amazing. So yeah, it's been amazing. And I guess for them this term, their public product is going to be a showcase where they're going to present actually their journey through FBB this year, as well as through school. And, they're going to talk about their growth, where they started from and where they are right now, whether it could be something as small as my confidence has increased or it has gotten better. And for us, that's the progress, we want to hear. A lot of them aren't always challenged enough to maybe, or a lot of them aren't, put into moments where they have to present or they don't have time to sit down with someone and work towards, achieving a certain goal. But I guess through our program, through the curriculum, they have this sort of autonomy and ability to take their time in a time frame, but work towards something, whether it's personal growth, a group growth, whatever it is. We're here to really push them to it and help them really. A lot of them becoming more and more leaders, becoming role models in the group, which is all amazing.
You can tell that the way you use the different schemes of learning, it kind of really embeds these life skill stuff, doesn't it? And gets them to reflect in a really clever way about themselves and how they can be the best version of themselves, right? Which is fantastic, especially with students that maybe they've not thought about that, or they've had reasons to maybe not want to look at it as closely as they would need to. Could I ask, if you don't mind, what the rationale is for having a different program for boys and girls?
So it isn't necessarily, I wouldn't say it's different. It's just, I guess, what the boys learn and what the girls learn. I think it depends on the year group or the year of they are. So in year one, we look at all of these things where I would say it's like a settler, getting them, getting to know each other, understanding the group. What's the word I'm looking for? When you know the word, but it's
like dynamics or the group structure.
Yeah. So the group dynamics, who they're going to be with, and then in the second year is when the focus sort of pushes towards things like talking about race. So a topic on something called unapologetically us, where the girls were looking at so anger as a main thing, women being angry, how it's portrayed in society, how it was seen as a bad thing in the past, and maybe like the progress of society where it's at now. Is it a bad thing for example, a Black woman, how she is angry? How is that portrayed compared to someone else who's deemed as angry, really, and how society sort of changed and views all of these sort of things. So yeah, that's like I would say that's like the slight sort of change between what the boys are looking at compared to the girls. Yeah. But overall, as I was saying, things like discrimination, equality, all of those topics do come into conversation in everything that we do. So yeah.
And how have you found then the work that you do with the students? How is it helping them, I guess, be better in the classroom, for their maths lessons, English lessons and stuff? Do you see improvements? Do you get feedback from the teachers and the school and the students themselves that actually these things do make a difference?
Yeah. So I guess quite recently, actually, just as before we entered this term, I do like a report from the school where we look at their attendance and behavior points and the percentage of the young people in terms of detentions, their attendance, punctuality, and if not all of my reports, there has been an increase in things like attendance, reduced detentions, increased positive points to say in a lot of the young people. I know at one of my schools, I've got a young person who every week, as soon as I come in, oh, hi, Jeremie, I've been good this week, I've got no negative points. I've been into every class, and it's almost like I'm already smiling because I know from where he started and where he is right now, it was completely different. Like I would come in before, he's in isolation. I've come in before, he's been given the detention for this, he's on report, he's on this, like all these negative things surrounding him. But through constant one-to-one interventions, phone call homes, communication with the school, communication with him, giving him the space where he can actually express himself, talk about his feelings, talk about, what he wants to achieve and how he can achieve it. He's turned around, and now every week he's looking forward to a trip because they're getting. I'm taking them to somewhere called Tucker Social, so they're all excited and all of these sort of incentives around him. And it's like, if I want to do that, okay, my behavior has to be like this. If I want to do that, my behavior has to be like this. And if they don't change their behavior, they know they can't, be successful in what they want to achieve. So yeah. That sort of improvement for us is amazing to see because that's the impact. A young person is no longer getting kicked out of class where they're going to miss their learning. They're actually in class. They're always in school now. Their teachers are recognizing their positive behavior and change as well. And with them receiving that and also the positive phone calls home to parents also now encouraging them as well, really happy with them. It's almost like they've gone from the dark side into, they've seen the light now.
In the light, yeah.
Like the improvement is there. They're looking forward to coming to school. A lot of them say, "Oh, my favorite day is this day because I've got FBB." Like they know we're gonna come in and all of a sudden we're gonna cheer them on and be proud of them, and that's what they want to hear. So yeah, that's how we sort of, I guess, monitor the improvements in the young people. From my side, anyway, we have an impact team who also looks at the wider picture across all the schools, and yeah.
And the challenges some of these students face then, and what kind of problems have they? These problems in inverted commas. What are the makeup of these children that you might take on, and some of the challenges that they come with for you guys?
So at the beginning of FBB, the young people that are recognized for us to work with sit under three sort of labels. those that are at risk, and that means at risk of exclusion. Those that are passive learners, and those that are role models. We work with the school to identify these young people, and once they're put into our groups, that's like the group that we then sort of work with at our schools. So I've sort of mentioned already the program that we offer is 3/4 years long. I spoke about, we see them during term time in year 1 and year 2 of FBB. When they reach year 3 and 4, we only see them during half term. Oh, right. And that increases, or that then looks at adding a bit more independence to them. They've gone from seeing, their coaches or their mentors every single week, and now suddenly they only see them once every 6 weeks or 7 weeks of a half term. And even in that, though, we still have a program in which we deliver, which leads up to like a big residential for them. So coming up to the end of the year, we're doing something called Copper Football, which is a tournament which is going to be hosted at a university. And that'll be a trip for them, for example, where they do a football tournament, there's a big talk and all of that. They talk about their journey through FBB, where they started, where they're at. And yeah, it's all amazing. But yeah, so going back to your main question, so we have those that are role models, passive learners, and those that are at risk. Those that are at risk, I wouldn't say the main focus is on them. The focus is on everyone, but they're the ones that we really want to work on, to help them change and become more engaged in their learning. The passive learners, again, they're those that are sort of, you could say, coasting through their journey in school. They're there, but the engagement isn't exactly there. And again, we work with them. We do a lot of target setting with the young people we work with, so smart targets, something that's realistic, achievable, and when they do achieve it, they are rewarded for it. And we really want to, make the young people feel like they're listened to, feel like they matter. I think that's the main thing, because a lot of them, they will tell you, but when I told, my teacher this, they didn't even do nothing about it. Like, those sort of excuses happen a lot, but then we sort of give them that space to, okay, cool, express yourself. Like, what is it that happened? And we give them that space to be themselves, really, and be open. And whether it's with the group or in a one-to-one conversation, there's a lot of mix in terms of what we do. The one-to-one could just be, for example, myself and the young person. Or let's say they had a falling out with another member of the group. Okay, I might do a restorative with both of them in the group, and maybe get them to play something together and see a different change. Or suddenly they've gone from challenging each other in a negative way, and now they're challenging each other in a positive way in a game, for example. Whether it's Keepy Uppy or a card game, which is very popular, like something that get them engaged with each other, and they've gone from being angry at each other to suddenly laughing at each other or smiling at each other, and suddenly there's a quick change in emotions and in engagement. And some of them, they sort of praise and like the fact that they go from maybe not talking to all of these people, and then suddenly everyone in the group are friends. You've made new friends, people that you never thought you'd talk to at the beginning of the year. You guys are playing FIFA on the weekend now together. So yeah.
Brilliant. How do you use the practical side of football then? So I can kind of see the classroom stuff and the schemes only sound fascinating, the topics, but when you get outside then and you're outside, how do you actually use football in a game sense to embed some of these values and these positive behaviours?
Yeah, so I guess going back to the example of something like perfect penalty, the high pressure stuff, with that sort of scheme of learning, it was a case where we spoke about, we done at the beginning of that topic, it was like they've set themselves targets or challenges in the classroom on the board. Oh, where would you shoot your penalty? Oh, I'll shoot it here, I'll shoot it there, I'll shoot it there. We've got them to do it on a piece of paper. Now we've gone outside where, there's the real life. Now we're actually in front of a goal. This is where you said you was going to take your penalty. Actually try and do it, as a team, how can we maybe encourage them? And also applying things like pressure, i.e. in real life, as a professional footballer, you're in a stadium, you've got the crowd cheering or jeering you on? You know, how do you manage that high pressure sort of stuff? And then the young people, a lot of the answers are, you know, I'll, you know, close my eyes, count down, or I would simply just think about where I'm taking that penalty. Some of them thinking about, because we was looking at things like the World Cup, you know, they're just thinking about the trophy, they're thinking about the success rather than worrying about the problem in front of them in that moment. So then again, that sort of approach to it, we then link it to the classroom. Okay, so when you're in an exam, for example, how do you know, whoever feels nervous in the exam, hand up. Who feels the high pressure of an exam? Yeah, because I have to achieve my goals. I have to achieve a high grade. I have to make my parents proud, they'll say, or, you know, I have to, for themselves, I want to be the best in my class at this, at that, you know. So how do you then manage that high pressure yourselves? How do you, and all of this actually is great because it shows their self-awareness. They understand and know what they need to do to improve and do better. And those that don't really understand, they then, you know, we then ask them the question, you know, how do you think you can, what process or what steps do you think you need to take to maybe achieve this? And if it, obviously not everything happens overnight, right? We don't achieve everything overnight. It does take time. So what steps, you know, do you think you need to take to maybe achieve this goal? If you missed your penalty, let's say you missed it, okay, what do you think happened for you to miss it? Did you miss kick it? Were you positioned badly? Was, you know, did you lean back too much to kick the ball over the bar, for example? And then from that, what have you actually learned from it then? Okay, cool. So my next penalty, let me not lean back too much. Let me not focus on the glory. Let me actually focus on the penalty that I'm about to take. You know, let me not think too far ahead, for example. And all of those things sort of, we link it back to the classroom with, like I said, with the exam sort of things. How do you manage yourself in an exam? Do you see a question? Before you've opened your book, are you already panicking? You know, you close your eyes to do a little countdown, set yourself into the mood of actually completing your exam. Did you revise, for example? You know, did you practice before the exam? Those sort of things. So the link to the classroom and to football, they're seeing the realistic side to it. So everything's more or less authentic. It's not like we're making things up, because they've seen the example of a real life player who they all support and love. Now we've put them in that situation, and now we're exactly, they're making it relatable, right? They're now in that situation, and now they're thinking about, okay, when I'm actually in class, how do I apply this to myself? When do I apply it to myself? Is it all the time? Is it sometimes? And understanding when is, you know, the appropriate time maybe to say or manage myself in a particular way. It could even be a high pressure situation where maybe, let's say, a fight's broken out, maybe. How do you manage yourself in that situation? Or someone is teasing you. How do you manage yourself in that situation? How do you take yourself out of that equation? Because it's something negative. You want to be in a positive mindset. So how do you take yourself out of that situation? So yeah, we get the young people to do a lot of reflections. Like when they come into class, maybe it might be okay, this is our manifesto. You said, you know, you wanted to respect everyone equally. Have you been doing that? So between last week and this week, have you done that? Have you been that role model that you said you want to be? You know, what are you doing really to achieve all of these points that they put in their manifesto really? And we're getting them to regularly think about it. So yeah, a lot of everything we do, we want them to, you know, have the autonomy to think about it, regulate themselves through that motion. And in return, I guess the engagement in school will increase, we hope. They enjoy school better, they will navigate school better. You know, they've made new friends. They're open, you know, to speaking to the teachers and actually asking for support, and rather than keeping it to themselves and then turning up to school, I don't understand, or I didn't understand, that's why I didn't do it. But instead, you know, they've taken the steps to asking for help. So yeah, I actually have a young person who I'm thinking about actually at the beginning of the year, super quiet, doesn't really communicate with teachers. He hangs around with his friends, but not with teachers. After the first term with us at FBB, he's gone from being quiet to actually challenging the school. The school said, everyone in maths, you're doing foundation paper. He said, huh? I don't want to do foundation, I want to do higher. He went to his teachers, went home, told mum calls me, Jeremy, there's a bit of an issue here. So-and-so wants to do this, but the school said him he has to do foundation. What can we do about it? Obviously I spoke to the school, and he actually went to speak to the school before I even had a chance to, and he said, look, I want to do a higher paper, and then he took it home, and then I spoke to the school. The school sort of turned around and gave him the higher paper, and he actually done really well. So he's gone from being quiet.
Found his voice.
Exactly, find his voice and say, actually, I want to challenge myself and actually do this instead. And he's done really well in it as well. And he's even moved up, I think, 2 sets in school since then in all his subjects really well. So yeah, I guess, yeah, the work and the impact and results from the young people, it says it in itself. So yeah.
How difficult is it to get the students to engage in the theory stuff and not just want to do the practical stuff? I'm thinking now, obviously, as a grassroots coach, I mean, we do some theory stuff. You know, I'm quite pleased with the stuff we do. Like we get them using whiteboards and doing stuff, and they're pretty good because they're used to it now. But you know, most of the comments we often hear, if we're getting our sessions wrong as a grassroots coach, you hear the comment, when we're going to play a game, you know, and it's like, when we can get outside on the grass. Do you get that same situation in the classroom, or are they pretty good at recognizing they've got to do both?
Yeah, I think it took a while for some of them to sort of realize that we're going to do both.
Yeah.
Some of them had an emotion where the way we sort of start the FBB sessions, we almost have like an icebreaker. We start off with a game, a great game that's super popular at all ages, actually. Even the year 3s and 4s still love playing it. It's called S and P. So we pick a topic, and you can't say anything on that topic that begins with S or P, basically. So we use that as an icebreaker. Games we play is like a rock paper scissors game. Allow them to use the classroom, navigate the classroom, and there's 3 or 4 levels to it. Everyone starts as an egg. You play rock paper scissors. Whoever wins, you move up a level, you become a bird.
Right.
You do rock paper scissors again. If you win again, you become a dinosaur. Again, you
love it.
You find someone else, you rock paper scissors, and then you become like a higher being, so like the champion.
Right.
I guess the downside to it is if you lose, you move down the level. And then obviously as everyone is playing, you just see all these different levels. They want you, get you involved as a staff. Yeah, I want to challenge you too. They come and play against you. But yeah, we do all of these different icebreaker games to sort of calm the moods down. Maybe something's happened at break time. They come in, the energy, everything's hyper, but then we sort of settled everyone down with, this icebreaker game that then tunes them into, okay, I'm in FBB. We tell them that FBB is their space. They are allowed to utilize the FBB space how they want, as long as it's respectful to everyone else. So when someone is speaking, you're quiet, you're listening, because things like debates and stuff, we're happy for that to happen. As long as, again, it's respectful. You can agree and disagree with other people as well. Often we can have a session plan, right? And, as a practitioner, you want to get through your session, but then this huge debates come up. And it's like, okay, this is perfect because this is where the learning is happening. They're having a debate. It could be something to do with racism, or I guess most recently, the debate is on, so actually a scheme of learning from today, the Chris Rock and Will Smith situation at the Oscars. Yeah. Abuse versus abuse. One person verbally abused someone else reacted by physically abusing them. Is that right? And then all of them talking about, okay, yeah, but it's right because, if someone did this to me, I'll do this. Okay.
There's 2 hours there straight away, isn't there? That's the lesson done. You're good.
You're talking about all of these things. They're thinking about each other's emotions. We're getting them to think about, how do you think Chris Rock felt, when he was saying what he said? Okay, after he said it, how do you think he felt then? Okay, Will Smith, in the moment, how do you think he felt? Oh, he felt like this. Okay, but then he ended up slapping him. That means his emotion must have changed. What triggered that change? Why do you think it changed? How do you think he felt after? How do you think Jada felt? Like all of those conversations, they're getting them to think. And then, okay, cool. Now think about yourself. Think of a moment where you got heated up or something challenged you and you got really angry about it. How did you manage yourself? How could you manage yourself? So getting them to really reflect on all of these realistic things that they're seeing on TV and on social media, and then thinking about it themselves when they're in that position. How did you manage yourself in that? This specific topic is actually on mistakes. So I start the session with, who's ever made a mistake before, including myself, hand up. Okay, so who's ever learned from a mistake? So you've done that mistake, you've got into a moment where you could have made that mistake again, but actually you didn't do it, you've done something else. Okay, cool. So that already you're seeing hands up, who hasn't put their hand up. You're seeing the growth, because that is growth in itself, being able to learn from your mistake. And then again, applying it to school. Think of a moment in school in which you made a mistake. How did you or how could you have done, how could you have managed yourself differently in that situation? So we really get them to reflect on real life and on themselves as much as possible, because the more they reflect on themselves, the more habitual it becomes, more of a habit it becomes. They then understand, okay, I'm in this situation. What did I learn at FBB? Okay, cool. If I do this, this will happen. If I don't do this, this would happen. And that sort of self-control, taking autonomy and taking self-management and being able to actually regulate themselves properly in certain social situations and environments. Yeah. That's where we're seeing the growth. And in the young people, I come into school, Jeremie, last week I achieved this many, achievement points because I've done da-da-da. And then we're coming in, and if for example, if I tend to receive an email from the school beforehand, like with a report of how the young people are getting on. Yesterday I received one for a student here. He done really well this week. He completed all his work, like he done really well in his class. As soon as I came in, I was already praising him, and he had no idea that I knew how he done in the week. And he's already laughing, he's really excited. So yeah, it's amazing, really. Like just seeing the young people smile because they're doing well. Yeah, it's like, yeah, this is it.
And how are the schools? I mean, I'm assuming you're in the schools, so they must buy into this. But do you have to sell it to them first in the sense of the proposition, or they get you in? How does that relationship tend to work?
I guess it works both ways from what you've said. Some schools are recommended by other partner schools, or we have our head of our director who goes into schools with other members of our team, and they sort of offer them our program, what we do, and then the school sort of identify what maybe they would like to do, whether they want to work with us for a year and then potentially continue the year after, or whether they want to go 2 years straight or the full package of 3/4 years straight away. That decision is only made from people above me. So yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. That makes sense. All right, and now I am going to deviate because I'm going to take it back to the world of grassroots football, if that's okay. And you mentioned at the beginning that you're involved. That under 16s is quite a lot, but I'm keen to know, well, two things really. Number one, how much of this stuff do you use in your coaching space? I mean, do you bring some of this pedagogy and this theory stuff into what you do out on the grass? And if so, how? And do you think that, even us volunteer parents that are doing the best we can at weekends, is there some things we could potentially use here to help us? One of the things we do here quite a lot is, how do I deal with some behaviours in my group? I've got one or two kids that, don't listen and kick the balls away and stuff like that. Now, I kind of think, first we'll look at the practice and make sure that's working because, make it engaging. But then you may have other thoughts around, okay, could we use some of this stuff? And if so, maybe how might we want to use it?
Yeah, so I think it all really depends with your group and group dynamic, what sort of group you're working with. So with my lot, I know for sure, simply being here, because I'm here 5 days a week, it's changed my approach to how I approach my boys. Even though they are slightly an older group, the way I speak to them and it's the way, I sort of manage them has changed. Simply identifying, I guess, the needs of the people you're working with is really important. Often we see things and we think, basically everyone learns in their own way, right? You might have a young person in a group who, as soon as they get to training, they're already playing with football. You might have a young person who's coming to training straight away. They're just sitting there waiting for the coach. Maybe there's someone that they want to be given an instruction before they do something. Where you have another one who simply just wants to play, right? Yeah. So then, how do you sort of manage that and get everyone working in conjunction with each other? I guess for me, I know my group, for example, when they come, they want to play football. They're under 16s, like they don't, they want to learn, but they want to also play. First few minutes as they come in, it's allow them to play with the ball. They ping the ball around, do kick about, whatever. I have this approach. I think I don't know why I like doing it, but it just makes it easier. I just do a countdown, and everyone knows they have to come in, even in the groups here. When I do a countdown,
your teacher side coming through that is Jeremie. That's a teacher thing there.
I just do a countdown. Everyone knows they have to be quiet. They have to, be tuned in. Or if I'm doing a countdown, I then follow up with an instruction. When I get to 0, everyone should be in their seats. With the boys, it's when I get to 0, everyone in. We do a huddle. We talk what we're gonna do. I guess some elements of some of the games in which we do at FBB practically, I've also included there as well. In the under 16, something like football, tennis. That's a great starter. The students come in, first two already, they're doing sort of end-to-end, trying to challenge each other. As more come in, they join in each team, and everyone's already, in the game, really. They're tuned in, they're challenging each other, playing the game. I guess the element of identifying the needs of your group, like I said, being able to almost cater for them, I think is important. Maybe even at the beginning of the season, simply understanding the players that you're going to have in your team by speaking to the parents. So like at FBB, when we did identify the people we're working with, we get a full report on their needs, if they are SEN or if they are K-coded, things like that. How, maybe the school is supporting them. Are they already in other interventions that they're doing? Like I had a case with one of my under 16s this year. He unfortunately had to stop playing, but he had mental health, issues, and home sort of didn't really mention any of this. But when it hit mid-season, he sort of stopped coming, and the conversation with mum was, he's actually suffering from some mental health problems and he needs to sort of stop playing football a bit. So being able to have more or less, it feels like it's outside of football conversation, but really and truly, we are all human, and you need to more or less know this. What sort of space in which you're providing for this young person, whether, there is something that we need to do for them to support them. Something little as, do they wear glasses, for example? Are they short-sighted? Can they not see very far? How are you catering for these needs in the space and in the game, really? And how are we as coaches, as practitioners, really catering for that young person? Obviously, it isn't always easy. I think it's always important to have an assistant, have someone that can support you in your work. Because if something does happen, having an extra hand makes life a little bit more calmer, less panic, really. And it does mean, for example, parents supporting, why not get more than one parent to help out, whether it's just to simply bring equipment, for example, and maybe just support on the side where, they're looking out at the activity. Maybe they could be learning themselves, really. Being able to provide this space where not just the young person's learning, but everyone around you is learning, it makes life a bit easier. So yeah, what I do at FBB and what I do outside of FBB, not all of it, but I have been able to sort of take away what I've been sort of learning here at FBB and put it into practice at my own space. And it's quite interesting, really, because I never thought it would be like that. But it just, the thing is, I never thought of it, but it just naturally happened. So yeah, it's quite interesting, really.
I think those techniques that you can develop in the classroom, particularly obviously in the work that you do in the classroom and on the grass with the students, I think there's some really good little tricks there and tools, that even volunteer parent coaches could pinch one of those to cover those things and help their sessions. It's not all about the X's and O's and what the technical side of the game. It's a lot of it is that kind of emotional side, isn't it, and that life skill side that can make a big difference. And actually, you can it filters through to become better football players, right? That's a byproduct of it.
At my under 16s, one problem we had at the beginning of the year, because they were a new team put together, was communication. And something like communication and teamwork was something right at the beginning of FBB we started with. So it was almost perfect.
Yeah.
Activities where, from under 16, getting them to learn each other's name. When you pass the ball in a rondo, you have to say that person's name. If you don't remember it, it's a bit of a sticky one.
Yeah. It just shows it's important, doesn't it? And it gets them thinking, because they can do these things, but unless you ask them to do it, they won't necessarily do it because, it could be a bit, reserved, a bit shy, whatever else, but it certainly works. Jeremie, how do you see FBB kind of evolving over maybe, let's say, the next 5 years or so? I mean, is there scope for growth here and stuff? Is it early days, or have we got a product that works and it's going to be pretty much just the same?
Yeah, growth-wise, I think FBB is going to explode. We're working towards being the best place for young people to basically be at. And currently, obviously, I'm London-based. We have a team that works in the Northwest, so in Manchester, Liverpool, Bradford, Blackpool, all of those areas. As of September, we're actually moving to the West Midlands, so from Birmingham. And all of this, in my opinion, I think is the beginning. There is a lot of change happening in the company. There is a lot of change sort of for growth in the number of schools we're working with. So I feel like it's a really exciting period for FBB and the work we're doing. for the young people we work with, for the people hearing of FBB. Yeah, from my side anyway, I know I'm really excited, and for anyone listening, I think tune in as well.
follow what's going on. Yeah, well, it does sound exciting. Jimmy, I didn't put this on a list of questions, but because I wasn't sure if it's right for you guys or not, but I think I think you'll be okay answering, but let me know if you're not. We ask all our guests at the end of the questions this one question. It's, if you could change one thing about the world of coaching, I'm going to add in this situation, or education, what might that be? Now, I've thrown this on you because usually guests get opportunities to prepare for that answer, and you've not had a chance to prepare. So I'll ask it again. If you think you can answer it, please do, but don't worry if you can't. So if there was just one thing you could change about the world of coaching and or education, what might that be?
Instead of a change, it will be more of an increase. I think increasing the accessibility of sporting sort of facility and areas. A lot of places, it's a case where you have to pay to utilize the space, and you have to travel a really long distance to try and get to a place. And we, you know, from a coach background, I know some young people, they simply can't travel far, or they can't afford simply to, you know, to pay for a venue to use. Not to put them on the spot, but something like a power league or a goals space, you got to pay to use that. But it's, you know, it's a sport it's more or less free to the world, right? And anyone should be able to play it. But for people to access it, they then have to pay extra money for it. And that's from really young ages going up. Obviously, there's a lot of renovations and new buildings being put across the country. And it's like, with that, is there a park space? Is there a football pitch in which young people can actually utilize? After school, they don't have to travel far. They can simply go downstairs and they've got a cage right there to actually access and, you know, do a bit of sport. We do a lot to promote sport, but a lot of it sort of comes with barriers when we promote sports and sort of extracurricular activities. So yeah, I think just increasing the accessibility of a sporting space, and as well as increasing the range of facilities, also thinking about the inclusiveness in it. Is it just a cage where it's going to be full of boys, or can girls also participate? You know, sort of promote more promotion on, and a push on, okay, this space, girls can use it, boys can use this space. You know, allowing more inclusivity, really. Who's actually able to access this? Is it affordable for someone who, you know, who lives by themselves, for example? Where are they surrounded? What is their surrounding? And yeah, I think that's one thing I think that will need a big push in the world.
Well, that was actually two. She cheated, but they were very good on the spot. So accessibility and inclusivity. So yeah, brilliant. Thanks so much for that. I really do appreciate it. Look, you've been an awesome guest. It's a little bit different to our normal kind of coaching and stuff like that we cover, but I think it's fascinating. I think coaches could learn a lot by listening to maybe some of those classroom techniques and ways which we can develop life skills as part of our delivery, even at the weekends. And you've done a great job of covering it. It sounds fascinating what's been gone on already, and your contribution, even this has been a year or so there, but what you're doing there, I get the benefit of watching you speak, and I can see your face light up every time you speak about the students. And I think that's the most powerful point here. You're obviously well engaged in it yourself. Credit to you and all the guys at FBB are doing a fantastic job. If people want to find out more about you or the company or the work you're doing, what's the best way of going about that?
Obviously, we are quite big on social media. We use things like TikTok, Instagram. Simply search Football Beyond Borders. You find us there. We've got our website, which is www.footballbeyondborders.org. And obviously, you could always drop an email as well to us, which I guess, depending on who you're looking for, you should be able to access our email through our website as well. So yeah, you can find us on social media, and yeah, our office is in Brixton if anyone ever wants to go. So yeah.
Thank you so much. I'll put all the links in the show notes anyway. If people want to find the information with regards to the Instagram or the TikTok or the website and stuff, I'll put it all in there so people can find you nice and easy. Thank you so much. Look, I would love to have you back on maybe in a year or so's time to find out how things are going and stuff, and maybe share more of how you go about the curriculum, and maybe how some grassroots coaches can pinch some of these ideas to, you know, help with some of the students, the players they may have that have some issues, right? That you get them in the school environment, but they get them on the weekends, right? And some of those things are still going on there. So would you be up for that, if that'd be okay in a year or so?
100%. Let's go.
Man, brilliant. Jeremie, thanks so much for your time. All the best.
Amazing. Thank you, Scott.
This episode was brought to you in association with our friends at Soccer Coach Weekly. Established since 2006, Soccer Coach Weekly is a leading source of inspiration and advice for all grassroots coaches. Join thousands of youth soccer coaches just like you, saving time and effort in their goal of having the most effective, enjoyable and successful coaching journey for them and their players. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode.